All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for everyone to come, and a little bit last minute. I feel like I should make everyone t-shirts like the 8th and 9th floor crowd, you know, or something fun like that. So
yes, please do that.
Yeah, I'll get sizes, you know, whether you like cotton or, you know, whatever.
Exactly. Long sleeve, short sleeve.
Right. Yeah, all that stuff. So, so thank you again for coming. We, you know, the building is going up. We're about ready to finish concrete. We, as in Walsh, finish concrete on the fourth quadrant of the 4th floor. So we're about halfway through to your floors. So very exciting. So today, just so everyone knows, my name's Teresa. I'm the sales and marketing director. We also have Michael on the call. He, and I'm going to apologize right now. There's somebody outside scraping paint off of my window. We just painted this building, so it's perfect timing. So Michael will be meeting with you to select finishes and structural items and so forth. So if you haven't already met with him, I know some of you have. So that's Michael. Jojo just popped along, even though her screen still says Teresa. But there's Jojo. Jess is doing a tour, so she is not here. And then we also have Ryan Miller, our COO. There's Ryan, and I think I saw Lucas Malley, our VP of Facilities. And we also have Spencer Daly, who is with Walsh, and he is the assistant superintendent for the project. So yeah, good group of people. So lots of good people on the call today who can answer your questions and help us kind of navigate the next couple months. So I think I put it in the email, but really this meeting is to help all of you kind of plan and get some questions answered, so that the next month and a half or so, as you meet with Michael and make some decisions on your homes, can be more smooth than maybe would otherwise be. So I think we're going to start. So Spencer's going to kind of go over the agenda items that we had in the email. And then Ryan, our COO, has some other things that he's going to go over. And then we will have at the end time for question and answer. We are recording this, so I will send it out tomorrow. We have several people who could not attend, so we'll definitely have a recording. So if you wanted to rewind and watch it again, you're welcome to do that. So am I forgetting anything, Ryan or Michael, before we hand it over to Spencer? Cool. All right, welcome, Spencer.
Thanks, Teresa, and hi to everybody. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here, put together a little presentation, pretty short and sweet. But like Teresa said, I think the big focus of today is to educate you all on what a potential structural change might entail, and then give you an idea of kind of a turnaround that we need that information by. Hopefully there aren't too many. We've seen some relatively standard stuff so far. So some items we've seen so far structurally are, you know, folks adding floor outlets in the living room. I believe in the booklet that you all likely have seen by now, you can upgrade a shower to a tub shower combo. There's some of that going on. Pretty minor framing changes so far. If you're moving walls or anything else that's, you know, different from the architectural design, we need to look at that and review that. A lot of times there'll be plumbing or electrical or something else in the wall that we need to locate in the concrete well ahead of time. And like Teresa mentioned, the concrete is getting poured weekly, and we're almost done with the 4th floor and setting forms for the 5th floor. So this stuff comes quick. So yeah, just think about it as we go through this presentation, what you might want to add to your unit. Again, floor outlets, drains for the tub and shower, moving walls, or anything else that you can think of that might affect the concrete. As far as structural deadlines go, the 8th floor is coming up pretty quick, 6/21/22. So that's next Tuesday. So if you're on the 8th floor, you got a pretty quick turnaround here, but you've got a good team in Teresa and Michael, and they'll reach out to me if you have any questions, but pretty easy for us to input that information into the system and get it going. So folks on the 9th floor have a little bit more time until July 11th to get their structural items inputted into the system. So again, just give Michael, Teresa a call, and they can walk through your unit and get any structural items added to the system so that we don't miss it when we go to pour the concrete. Touching on deadlines a little bit. Again, the deadlines I gave before are for structural items. I guess I should probably present this, huh?
Finish.
Can you see that, Teresa? On the screen over here?
I can see your main slide, and then off to the left, your future slides.
Got it. Okay, well, that didn't work very well. Okay, I'll just continue over here. I guess what I was getting at is we have structural deadlines. That doesn't mean you have to select everything for your unit by that time. It's just if you want to add those things like floor outlets or change walls or anything like that. For the 8th and 9th floors, you don't have to select your finishes until mid-September and mid-October respectively. So that gives you your opportunity to meet with Michael and Teresa once, twice, whatever it takes to get your countertops, cabinets, flooring, paint, tile, all that good stuff selected for your unit. Anything non-structural, any custom options, and again, any items from that booklet that are either your standard or upgrade finish options. Some electrical considerations. This building is designed to meet passive house requirements. And so we're doing our best to accommodate all the electrical requests that we're getting in, but at the end of the day, they do have to be run by our electrical engineer for review to make sure that we don't use too much energy in this building. So, you know, I would say that you can put all your requests into Michael and Teresa, but at the end of the day, an electrical engineer will have to review it, make sure that it meets the panel, the unit panel requirements and the passive house constraints for the building. So although you put your requests in, you may not get them all depending on what kind of requests you ask for. So yeah, again, I think the sooner that you can meet and get your requests into the system via Michael and Teresa, the better off we'll all be, especially if you're looking at making a lot of significant custom changes. We've had a few units that are relatively involved, and those take a lot of time for us to coordinate, you know, flush out all the details, come up with pricing, all of that stuff. If you're looking for a relatively standard unit and you just want to pick a couple cabinet colors and countertop colors and flooring options, then you should be easy and pretty quick to get your request in and into the system. So I think that's really all I had. I know that Ryan was going to add a few things before we head into the Q&A session. So Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. There's a couple topics I wanted to cover today. First of all, it's really exciting to see you all here today, 7th and 8th floor Parkview depositors. And that one thing that's been really fun for the team and myself is to see how everyone's making their apartments so specific to them, and is excited in choosing the different finishes and colors that like are true to them and are going to make them feel like home. So, but one of the things we wanted to get together and talk about is just to make sure that as these deadlines approach, that that you have this information as thought-provoking when making your thinking about your upgrades and your finishes. But also one of the considerations is that some of the upgrades are very specific to the individual. Most of the finishes and rough-in structural items that are going into these apartments because of how you're making it yours are going to be something that adds value to the apartment, you know, really adding can lights and outlets in more locations than what we planned, for instance, is not something that is very specific or wouldn't be able to be sold to the next person. But there are some things that that people are going to choose to do to their apartments that is very specific and wouldn't necessarily be considered a standard for the building. So so we refer to these as put back or return to standard items. So if something is very specific to you when making these selections, there could be a fee up front that covers the cost of putting the apartment back to what is considered standard. We're not talking about wall colors. We're not talking about like one of our floor selections or the countertops or the cabinet colors if it's within our booklets. But things that I would be talking about are more of the ornate items that are something that maybe 10 or 20 years from now wouldn't be something that could be resold. And so we would return that item to standard. And what I mean is if, for instance, someone went to the extent of removing the island in the kitchen, then we would need to put that island back when we resell the apartment. So that would be considered a return to standard item.
There it is. Okay. I have it now. Thank you.
So there's a few other things to, like if the industry right now is calling for double vanities in the bathrooms, and if someone was looking at putting in a single vanity, then that could be considered a putback item or a return to standard item. So you know, just wanted to kind of talk about that. So there's a couple ways that we're going to approach this. One is if a putback or a return to standard item applies to you, then it's something that you could pay for at the time that when you're doing any upgrades that you would pay for those upgrades. So that's one option. Another option would be, rather than paying, say, in the next couple months when you pick your finishes, that you would pay for that return to standard cost or item at the time of what we call settlement, when you pay the remainder of your membership fee right before you move into your new Parkview unit. And then there's a third item that would apply, or a third way of doing it that may apply to some of you. If you were to choose the 80% refundable contract type versus the traditional non-refundable contract type. So let me restate that. So we have the two agreements. One is a non-refundable, it amortizes the entrance fee or the membership fee amortizes over 40 months. If you're not sure what that is, we can get into that later, but there's also another contract type that's an 80% refundable, and you can defer any of these put back or return to standard costs to when your apartment's vacated at whenever that is, if it's 5, 10, 20 years from now. And if it needs to be returned to standard, that it would just be deducted from the refund of that 80% refundable entrance fee. So there's some options to choose from. One thing worth just kind of considering is the cost of doing a construction item 20 years from now, 15 years from now is unknown. So if there was a return item, and that's unpredictable. Also, you run the option though that when the apartment's looked at by the next potential occupant, that they fall in love with your customization, and then therefore there would be no fee there. That's so unpredictable of what will be standard, what will be a style and a trend, and what the cost of those things would be. So there is some decisions to be made there. Anything that we're asking for return to standard, say now at your finish deadline or at the time that you pay the remainder of your membership fee, that would be based on today's kind of estimated construction costs for that item. A little bit of maybe Spencer can touch a little bit on this, but one thing that will be included should you need to do a structural change, like maybe you just don't want that that walk-in bathtub, that bathtub and a shower in the master. So you want to repurpose that bathtub space. We're still going to rough in the plumbing and the drains for that should someone want that later on. And so that rough in cost and that structural cost would be included up front and wouldn't be part of the what we're talking about putbacks. That would just be something that needs to continue so that we can return it to standard someday without massive amounts of construction. So I know I covered a lot. You know where to find me. I'm here for questions a little bit as long as we need today. I can also make an appointment with anyone should that be necessary. Spencer, though, do you want to kind of touch on some of the costs in some of these structural upgrades, kind of how you go about them?
Sure. I'll go ahead and change or share my screen again. So I probably should have plugged some costs in here, but I know off the top of my head that, a floor outlet is roughly $1,700. Framing changes, those are very up in the air. I mean, it totally depends on what you're doing. If you're adding a door, closing in a little alcove with framing and a door, that could be several $1,000s with the cost of the door and painting and framing and multiple subs involved. So it really depends on what you're doing. I think changing a shower to a tub shower combo is in the $2,000 to $2,500 range. And we've seen kind of everything in between. So it really depends on what folks are looking for, but general rule is the more subs that get involved, the more the cost increases relatively quickly. So a lot of this stuff, folks the building was designed as a whole. What we typically do is the architect will design a building. We get all the products approved. We order most, if not all the products ahead of time, and we move forward. So these kind of custom changes do tend to add quite a bit of expense for folks to either come back and do that work, or it's just a lot of overhead for, refinding products and resubmitting and all the paperwork and tracking that goes into it. So it's kind of my pricing spiel there. Teresa, should we just open it up to the group, or do you want to go through the list and kind of call on folks? What do you think's best there?
Well, I just wanted to add a couple things on some things that have come up over and over are some people will say, well, wow, that seems really expensive. I can get XYZ at Home Depot. And, it's not really an apples to apples comparison. So, I mean, you guys probably already know this, but we are not putting Home Depot quality items in this building. So you really cannot compare that. So just know, if there are changes and they seem expensive, it's a number of reasons. It's one, they are, and two, supply chain issues all over the world these days. So don't be surprised if things cost a little bit more than maybe what you are used to spending, or maybe did, when you remodeled your kitchen 10 years ago or something. So I'm trying to eliminate like the super sticker shock. And then I think, Spencer, you mentioned, if you add, a bunch of different electrical things, that we do have to have an electrical engineer look at that. And so again, with that, we'll have to charge, bill you back for the cost of the electrical engineer looking at it. And then if they have to completely redraw all the drawings, because the electricians can't come on site and start just moving wires wherever they kind of want to based on what Spencer's telling them, they actually have to have a drawing. So again, that's why some of these things, when we give you pricing, it might seem like it's really high, but it's, there's a lot involved in changing plans that have already been approved by the city. So, and then I guess I have a couple other things, but they'll probably come up in the question and answer. So, so one question already is, are electrical changes due by the structural deadline? One electrical change is, and that is the floor outlets. Are there any others, Spencer or Michael, that you know of?
The only other thing that I could think of is at the island. I mean, if you're doing something crazy at the island, you'd want to let us know early. If you're just doing, one outlet and maybe a wine or beverage fridge at the island, not a problem. If you're doing much more than that, let us know, because we'll probably need to put either an extra sleeve or conduit in the concrete to accommodate the additional wiring.
What about bookcases? So it kind of depends. I don't know, Michael or Spencer or Ryan, if you want to tackle that.
Yeah. So we're kind of evaluating on what's the best way to, economically do this for you all, for Twilliger Plaza, also make sure that we're getting our project completed on time. Like that's a really big deal with such a large scale process like this, or project like this. And so although we have a cabinet maker who is going to be doing all the kitchen work, all the bathroom work, and they're basically like, think of them more of like your what's it called, where you have like a chain of people putting stuff together. Why can't I think of this?
Like a manufacturing line?
Yeah, I guess without a better
line?
way of describing, assembly line. Thank you. So, they have they're doing it over and over and over and over. And so if someone wanted to add something in, such as a custom bookshelf on a wall in their living room that's not part of one of our customizations, we absolutely want to try and help you out and make that dream come true. With some of those types of things, we may look at doing after we get our temporary certificate of occupancy. And we may also, in collaboration with you, explore doing that not through a Walsh vendor. And the reason for that is so that we can, once Walsh vendors come in and they finish their sub work, their large scale projects, they're moving on to their next one. And so we run the risk of getting them back, because at that point we're going to be, such a small potato at that time. So we may work with our existing vendors, or if you have an interior designer and they have like a cabinet maker that they would entrust in that work, we might be able to vet them and do that. Anything like that, we would want to know. We would need to make sure that they have the appropriate liability, and that Lucas, our vice president of facilities, him and his team is highly involved to make sure that when they're on site, they're meeting our standards. So just know that some of those kind of post-occupancy style that don't need to be done during construction, we might look for doing some of those after we get our temporary certificate of occupancy and before you move in. So once we get temporary certificate of occupancy, we're going to have a few weeks where we are going to be moving in things like furniture, art. The subs are going to come back and fine tune some things after the initial temporary certificate is issued. And at that time, we can start to bring in some of these, like California Closets or something like that, who need to come in and do measurements that aren't part of the actual construction process. So when we identify those types of customizations, when you're doing your meetings with Michael and our sales team, we'll look for those opportunities to make this process easier than not in the overall big part of the construction process.
So that's the answer to the what about bookcases. Jan, you said your floor plan doesn't show electrical. I think everyone should have their floor plan. I'm just going to bring up which is, Jan, do you guys see that floor plan?
I do, but it's more complete than the one that we received. So we haven't received one with any of the fans or electrical or anything on it. We never got one.
Okay. Are you looking at the big, huge one we sent you?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I think we should have sent you more current ones, but we'll get those out tomorrow to you.
Well, that's good, except we're going to be gone the rest of the week. And now we have a deadline of next Tuesday, and we weren't scheduled to meet with you until the week after that. So we have some logistical issues here.
Okay. Let me give you a call. We'll
Right.
figure out how to make it work.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll call you right after this meeting. Okay, so hopefully everyone else has this because it does show electrical outlets. And you can see the legend over here. So we won't go into a lot of detail on that.
Oh, shit.
Uh-oh. Guess we'll try to bleep that out of the recording.
Sorry.
No problem. Okay, so will the building have charging stations for electric cars? Yes. I do not recall right off the top of my head how many, but we will have quite a few. And from what I understand, we have the ability to add more.
So we should mention too that Ryan and I are working on an expansion around the campus as well for EV charging also. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's the way of the future. What about TV outlet on the living room side of the wall where there already is one on the bedroom side? Not a problem. It's a couple $100. Will grab bars be standard in the showers? Grab bars are standard in the main bathroom only, and they will be an upgrade if you want them in the guest bathroom.
And when would we need to know that?
That would be at the finish deadline.
At the finish deadline. Thank you.
And then final punch list after move-in, question mark.
Yeah. Uh-oh, hold on. There we go. Yes, I can touch on that. So we have an organization that is our owner's rep for the whole process, and they, along with the architects, do the punch for the whole building, common spaces and apartments. So what we'll do with you all is we will do a walkthrough, not an actual punch walk, but a walkthrough to make sure that all of your finishes that you selected are installed as you expected that they would be. And we would have already done that with our owner's rep long before that we'll be able to bring you on site to do that. So we won't be able to get anyone on site until we get that temporary certificate of occupancy. And so we'll work on a time where once we get that temporary certificate, we can start doing kind of a first look and kind of going through your selections and making sure that they're there. But by that point, any of the scuffs and scrapes on the walls or things not working right would have already been addressed and resolved on 2 to 3 different walks with the construction team and the owner's reps.
Thank you. And of course, as we get closer and closer to the official move-in time and before, we'll be giving updated timelines. TV hookups will be wireless, question mark. If so, does that mean you need a compatible TV? I think Lucas and maybe Spencer, I don't think they're wireless. I do believe there are cables in the wall, but.
Are you asking like if there's going to be Wi-Fi available for your wireless viewing, or if the outlets are, maybe you can clarify, I can answer for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Lucas, the answer is that any TV outlet will have coax and data. So in theory, you could hook up Ethernet to your cable box or whatever, a smart TV kind of casting device. You'll also have Wi-Fi. So if you have a smart TV, you could connect to Wi-Fi that way. And then I think third, you do have a coax hookup for a cable box or something of the sort. But I think you might have instead of cable boxes, each unit already comes with a connection through the MDU. Is that correct?
I believe so, but I'm not up on the
Yeah, I'll have to ask around on that one, but either way, you're going to have a way to hook up TV multiple different ways at each TV location.
So Olivia, I can't tell if that's a good answer or a bad answer for you, whether you wanted to go TV shopping or not. So let's see. So we'll get some more information on that. So Lori, if you can document that question. And then can we move the washer dryer to a bathtub? You can, most likely, but that one will definitely require some return to standard costs. We actually have one person who has requested that. I can't remember, Spencer. Do you know off the top of your head what the rough cost ended up being on that?
Oh, I don't. Not very cheap.
We can, but the answer is yes, but most people will not want that. So that would be something that would be a return to standard. Can you tell us what changes have often been requested so far? Michael, do you want to tackle that one?
Yeah, sure. So generally, we've been seeing mostly folks adding outlets here and there. That's been, I think, the most common one. And then as far as finishes go, heated floors, that's been kind of a common one in the bathrooms. You can add them in either the guest or the main bathroom. And as far as everything else, that's pretty much it. I guess upgrades for finishes, having hard flooring throughout the bedrooms rather than carpet. That's a popular one. Yeah, there's quite a few things. So, we can go over all of that when we meet individually. And I'll think of a few more suggestions, things that people have been doing.
Let's see. Oh, the magic question. Ryan knows this exact date. When will the temporary certificate be issued?
Well, that's a moving target, so I don't have an exact date to give everyone.
I knew you wouldn't.
Yeah, because whatever date that sorry, Spencer, that Walsh has given me, we're pushing for sooner. We have some obstacles against us that we've never faced in the construction industry. And fortunately, things are moving along well. However, we've had some weather delays, and the supply chain issues is continuing to be something that requires a lot of just constant navigating and managing. We're hoping maybe TCO sometime in September, but it's really hard to know. And then like I said, we'll need a few weeks to move the things like furniture and art in, as well as having the construction team finishing all their stuff to get certificate of occupancy, CFO, which will happen well after the fact, well after TCO. But that, yeah, when we get that TCO date, as we approach, at least 6 months in advance, we'll really start better understanding where we're at and how confident we are in those dates, so that we can allow you to all start planning on things like your move companies, when to list your home if you're planning to do so. We're gonna talk a lot more about things like the move and the right sizing and listing your home, all that kind of stuff over the next year. We'll spend some time together as small groups, big groups, helping you make sure that you have all the resources there. And then, like I said, we really want to get a little closer to that TCO date before we start really giving you something that we're committed to. Just because with a year and a half still left, or a year and a quarter, or a little bit more, there's still a lot of time and a lot of variables at play.
So Ryan, one comment is, so no one can move in until everyone can. Is that what this refers to? So since you recently opened a building up in Seattle at your prior organization, maybe you can just talk a little bit about what the move-in process and timeline could look like.
Yeah, so say we get, I'm going to use just a date, just a random date, easy one to keep track of, September 1st. Say we get a temporary certificate of occupancy and we determine we need 4 weeks in order to get the building ready to go, and well enough to allow for move-ins. So, you know, say starting at the very end of the month, or potentially at like October 1st, so a month later, is when we could potentially see the first move-in. And we probably will be able to do a couple each day for the first, a couple or maybe even a few, depending on how big the moves are. Some people only need a half day of an elevator reservation. Some will need an entire day. And so we might be able to do a couple each day until we get the building full enough where we can't have all the elevators bogged down by moves. You know, once enough people are moved in, you know, a handful of apartments, we're going to need to make sure that we have the elevator capacity to allow you to move about the building freely without waiting 3 hours for a locked out elevator, if that makes sense. So that's what you can kind of expect, and how we go about determining who moves in when. We're not quite there yet in discussion. But when we get that locked down as well, then we'll make sure to be communicating that to you. And part of that is determining how many we can do in a given day or week.
Thank you. Let's see. So we've gotten a few kind of specific questions, which we may or may not be able to fully address just because it depends on each type. But one question is about, is there a broom closet in the kitchen, or would you have to put such items in the washer and dryer? And Olivia, just trying to look, it looks like you're in a Beaumont, so that's a pretty unique one. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull up a. Yep, so Beaumont, as it is designed right now, there is not a broom closet in the actual kitchen itself. Now, when you're meeting with Michael, you could talk about, some people are kind of building out a little pantry, kind of, in your case, it would be to the left of your microwave area. So there could be some opportunities if you wanted it right in your kitchen. But there is not a cabinet in that particular kitchen that has a broom closet. Betsy, can you explain the limited lighting in the living room, and is there a closet for sheets and towels?
I'm going to let Len take the first one because that was his question.
It seemed to be relying a lot on the windows to be able to provide the lighting for the living room, and not having cam lights or lights over except the fan light. Can you just explain the design issues?
Yeah, I don't have a specific answer for that, other than there are tons of outlets around the edge. Also, there's some lights. I'm looking at the wall list. There's some can lights just at the edge of the living room. And you're right, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 windows in that Wallace living room. Does anyone else have any additions to that?
I think, Teresa, the only thing I would add is that it's, you know, again, going for that passive house certification, limiting energy usage wherever possible. A lot of the buildings these days will even go on, like especially for common areas, they'll go on light sensor. So during the day, with your lights nearest your window will dim or turn off even, because they're not really providing a whole lot of light. And then as it gets darker, they'll come online. So that might have something to do with it. But again, yeah, that's more of the design team question, architects and engineers.
We can, I know a few people have chosen to add some lights in the living room and the ceiling, and a couple people have chosen to move some of the lights a little bit closer to the living room edge. So that could be an option as well.
Okay.
Teresa, looks like Alice has her hand up.
Yeah, let's finish this one question here. Second part of that question was the closet for sheets and towels. Again, let's see. In your main bathroom in the Wallace, there is a linen closet in the bathroom.
Oh, that's right. I see it now on the.
It's probably not huge, but
yeah, I see it now when you point it out. And can I just ask? I know this is individual, but next to the laundry, kind of in the second bedroom, what's that space like? If I'm facing where it says laundry, right to the right of it, is that a closet? I don't know what that is.
I'd have to look at your specific. I mean, there's the laundry room, and then what I see is to the right of it is the closet that's in the guest bedroom.
Okay, that's what it is, closet. Thank you.
Yeah. Good questions. Okay, so let's see. Elise, you have your hand up, and then we'll go back to the chat room. While we're getting Elise, I'm going to answer the heated floor. There's a question about, is it part of structural or finish deadline? That would be finish.
I'm online now.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. I think it's short-sighted to have what I think is very limited lighting in the living room. You're depending on cove lighting and a single overhead light. These are we're old people. We're going to be old people. And you're going to have a bunch of cords running from the wall to any light in the room, which are tripping hazards. So I would like you to talk to your design team about that. And is that a legitimate concern?
Yeah, thank you. And that's one reason why many people are adding floor outlets so they don't have cords. But yes, we will share that, and I'm sure Spencer and Ryan and Lucas are taking notes on that. Let's see, can you get a shower curtain rod instead of a glass shower door for the standard showers? I don't think so, but I'll let the other group members talk about that.
So we've had a few people ask about this before, and so far the answer is no, or at least it's not recommended, just given the heights, the lip of the shower. If you were to put a curtain and a rod there, you're looking at water then spilling out into the rest of the bathroom floor. There is also a shower seat on the back too, so it wouldn't really make sense to not have a door. So that's why we're highly recommending that you stick with the door rather than the curtain and rod to avoid just spilling.
I think the only addition I would have for that, Michael, would be kind of the return to standard cost. Mm-hmm. The shower doors aren't cheap, and the material for those have already been ordered. So certainly not getting a credit for removing that item, and you'll just have to pay to put it in later, would be my guess. Again, that's a conversation for Ryan and the Twilliger team, but cost is another factor for sure.
I'll go ahead and chime in. There's since it's a shower question, the height of the shower lip is 4 inches. Let's see. Oh, status of planning for storage spaces nearby. I don't have an update on that. I don't know, Ryan, if you've heard anything. I know Bob was on vacation recently, but I know that's something we're actively talking to people about.
I don't have an update. Yes, Bob and I plan to speak more about that. He has been out. Just for if the community doesn't end up offering any solution on site for storage, one option that we have in Seattle, I have not explored this here in Portland, but I have to assume there's something of similar like a similar service, but there's obviously self-storage apartments or units, but there's also ones where it's kind of like it's a concierge service where all your items are numbered and labeled, and you pick up the phone, you give them a call, and within 2 hours, they deliver that specific item to you. So that could be something just to be aware of as you're waiting to hear back from us. It was something that we were exploring in Seattle as well.
Let's see. Why does adding a floor outlet at this point cost $1,700?
Yeah, it is very expensive, but I think the long answer is, again, materials are expensive. It takes time to coordinate the change. We have to redraw it and lay it out again because it's custom, right? So normally the cost to design the whole building is baked into the whole fee. Now we have to update documentation both in the field, then again in the office, and the pre-install coordination. So there's a lot of man hours involved there. And then there's markups. So the subcontractor has their labor overhead markups, and then we have markups as well. And it just adds up fairly quickly. So I know it's a lot, but yeah, things are not cheap these days.
Yeah, I think that one too, because of I don't know the exact material that's used, but there's actually an actual trench dug in and put in the concrete. So there's some material that, because that's what your wires go into. So
yeah, it all has to get coordinated. You know, that screen that Teresa showed at the beginning, all has to get coordinated before we pour the concrete. And then the added wiring, the added boxing, kind of like what Ryan was saying with the assembly line idea. All of the electrical items in the building are prefabricated. So they come with the boxes wired up and everything's made up. So when they get on site, they just set it to a stud, or in this, I guess not in this case, because we don't have floor outlet standard, but they would set it to a stud, pull their wire, and boom, it's done. Versus this is more of a custom thing, has to be done individually, and they have to revisit it multiple times.
let's see, are the glass shower doors standard or upgrade? Can they be installed with a bathtub or only with a shower? Well, if it's a shower, if it's designed as a shower, then it is with a door, so therefore it'd be standard. Some homes have in the main bathroom, they'll have a tub and a shower. So I think that's the Wallace and the Irvington models. So there's some flexibility there on what you might want to do. But the standard would be, unless you happen to have a home that's ADA design, which none of them are on the 8th and 9th floor, or unless you happen to order a roll-in ADA shower, those do not come with shower doors. Are pocket doors allowed? It depends. So the doors are one of the things, I don't know, Spencer, I think they were ordered like shortly after we broke ground. So all the doors have been on order for this entire building for many, many, many months. So, and Rob, in your particular home, I'm looking at the floor plan. I see one pocket door already there in the main bathroom. That's the door going into the toilet area. It's possible that we could add some pocket doors later, but we have to open the building with the doors that we have ordered that are on install. That's another one of the supply chain issue with doors is just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I'd like to reinforce that. What Teresa's saying is even in our existing campus, boy, when I have to replace a door, it's just a nightmare right now. Our last door replacement took 9 months to get just one door. So I don't know why, but doors are a real victim of supply chain right now.
let's see, regarding limits to electrical supply, since you are planning for presumably 100 life of the building, shouldn't you be accommodating unanticipated additional electrical uses in the future? I can tell you there is electrical, and Spencer, you can chime in. I'm not an electrician by any means, but we do have spare circuits in all the homes. The bigger homes have fewer spare circuits. And again, it goes back to passive house design. We could have added, like, I don't know, thousands of extra circuits and electric usage and whatnot, but the building would no longer meet passive house design standards. So anything else on that, Spencer?
Let's see, I'm not muted. Yeah, again, that's a question for the design team, but I mean, my guess is that they're hoping stuff gets more efficient, not less efficient, as we age and innovate. So, you know, LED lights, for example, a lot more efficient than your standard 60-watt bulb. So I think the intent is that all appliances, lights, what have you, that you're plugging in get more efficient as time goes on. And like Teresa said, there is room for expansion, and that has a limit. So like I said, with electrical requests, we're saying that, you know, submit your dream design and we'll take a look at it, and the electrical engineer will do what they can, but there are certain limits. And I think the answer really is that it's just cost prohibitive to add a ton of extra capacity when you don't necessarily need it, right? These units aren't getting any bigger, so there's only so much you can stuff in there, and, you know, small things here and there are still doable, but not going to way oversize it just for the sake of doing it.
I don't know, Spencer, I could fit a lot of stuff in some of those apartments.
Fair enough.
Let's see, are changes to ceiling lighting structural or finish changes? It's my understanding they're finished, but let's get that confirmation.
That is correct. The caveat would be if you're going to put in something crazy heavy. I think if you're putting in just a standard light fixture, you know, even a kind of a hanging fan fixture, I don't think you'll have a problem. If you, for whatever reason, have some huge chandelier that you're looking to put in, we might have to look at that and think about casting something into the concrete to suspend it. I'm hoping that we don't have too many of those, but just think about it. If it's way heavier than anything standard, we might have to look into designing something custom.
What do you mean by crazy heavy, Spencer?
Great question. I don't know. I would say over 75 pounds, over 50 pounds.
So if you can't lift it,
yeah.
Or if, yeah, I mean, like, if you wouldn't want to risk lifting it and hanging it somewhere, not saying installing it to a ceiling, but maybe like actually moving it somewhere, then that might be a good indicator.
Yeah, we do have a few people who have, you know, bought chandeliers from various travel. So, and there's some that appear to be pretty heavy. So that's a good question. But yeah, I think, gosh, it'd have to be some really heavy, like iron type thing.
Yeah. And if you're concerned about it, just bring it up and we can make accommodations for it.
And while we're talking about heavy items, you know, I imagine that many of the people considering planning to move in have some very neat art pieces that they've acquired or collected over the years. And if even the walls, unlike like a normal residential home where your walls are 2x4s, and if you mount to one of those, you're good. The weight bearing on walls is different in a commercial product like this or a project like this. So if you do have big art pieces, one thing would be good to make aware to Michael and where those are going to be, because you'll probably want us to put some backing behind the sheetrock to support the weight of some of those larger, heavier items. steel studs in the walls just they don't support the weight like a wood 2x4 does.
Does that mean my stud finder, that thing you go along the wall, that's not going to work in this building?
No, it should.
It should.
Steel. Yeah, it's steel. It should pick up. It's just a magnet.
And more so the drywall than anything. I mean, the drywall has tendency to tear out pretty easily. If you can find a stud and mount it to a stud, you shouldn't really have a problem there. But just the spacing, they're a little bit wider spacing on a building like this, so you're less likely to get, say 2 studs or whatever. So having some wood back there to really reinforce it is a good idea.
Let's see. Regarding additional outlets, I thought our deadline was prior to pouring concrete and to allow planning for floor outlets and other in-floor items. That's correct. So that if you want floor outlets, that is a structural deadline. If you want to add outlets in walls or ceilings, those are finish items. And then we have a question, how about a couple of can lights in the ceiling? Not a problem. I don't remember the cost off the top of my head, but there is a cost involved. It's not, I mean, depends on how many you want to add. We had somebody wanted to add 6 or 8 or something like that. And, that adds up. But if you just want to add a couple, it shouldn't be too bad. We have a question on the floor plan, which I think this applies to everybody. What the dotted lines mean.
You want to share your screen?
Yeah, let me do that. So, does everybody see that?
Nope.
No.
No.
Maybe am I already sharing maybe?
There we go.
Okay. So I think they're talking about these dotted lines here. And they were asking if that was for cove lighting. Is that like an alcove? So that is this is not the right term. It's a bump up in the ceiling where you could add cove lighting around. And then I think the question was, can you expand it? The answer to that would be no. Stop sharing so I can get back to the question. I think I got all that. Can the location be enlarged or relocated?
So is the question regarding eliminating the drop ceiling areas? Or like,
I said on the floor plan, what do the dotted squares and rectangles mean? Is this where cove lighting can be installed? Can the location be enlarged or relocated?
Might be best if there's a follow-up call to better understand the question.
Okay. So that's Susan.
There's just for something to be aware of is so there is, it steps up inside that square, the ceiling's higher. And on the outside areas, those soffits have a lot of utilities in them, the heating and cooling ducts, fire sprinklers, electrical. So just keep in mind there are things up there. So that does present limitations if someone were to want to do something different, reshape them and things. They're where they are for a reason, and everything else is hidden around the perimeter.
If it was up to me, I would totally let you move them, but the architect doesn't like that. Let's see, so are doors solid wood or hollow? I don't remember the answer to that. Does anyone on the call know, or should we get back on that one?
The entry doors are solid. All of the interior doors within a unit are hollow.
Perfect. We've got a lot of stuff memorized, Spencer.
I had to look that one up, actually.
All right, we talked about how heavy are we talking about regarding reinforcing a wall? I don't know that we have specs on that necessarily. Olivia, if you've got something that you're thinking of or a couple pieces, maybe you can let us know.
I think lighter than the chandelier. So probably like in the 25-pound range would be there's special anchors, but even still, you probably want to be on the safe side. And
we have one person who's installing like 125-pound huge plasma television. So definitely adding some reinforcement for that. Are we going to be assisted in the process of hanging things on the walls? Yes. Lucas, do you want to talk about what your team does? And I believe I'd have to look back if you're a charter member. I want to say it's 2 complimentary hours of
time. That's right. That's right, Teresa. And yep. And we have 2 maintenance team members, Ramon and Malik, who've been with us for quite a while. There are expert art hangers. You're going to love them, and they'll help you out with your art. They're fantastic. We'll get your art hang up.
Yeah, actually, they've been helping us at the design center get everything hung up, and they're awesome.
Yeah, they are.
I feel like I might be missing something. Regarding the soffits, yes, I meant resizing them, but also could they be put in another room? Your answer suggests they can't be resized, but could they be put in another room? I think that'll be a case by case. I think what Ryan said, I think most of the ceilings, we can't just kind of cut into the ceiling because there's stuff up there. So we'd have to see exactly in your particular home what room you would want it in, where you would want it. You know, keep in mind any of these things, just so you know, so there's not surprises. If we need to go back to the architect and have Peter or someone on the architect team spend time looking at the plans and possibly even thinking about redesigning it, there will be, it shouldn't be much for them to just look at it, but there will be a fee to you to have the LRS team review your request, even if you decide not to do it. But we certainly can have them, and they'll do it pretty quickly.
Yeah, and so I saw the second half of the soffit question in another room. Let's just say maybe it's a bedroom, and you want to create a little foot by foot drop ceiling off the top corner over the bed, so you can have some can lights down, so you can read at night or something. Yeah, Teresa's dead on with it. It would need to be reviewed, so there's costs involved there. But one thing we'll have to look for, if that can even be done, is where's the fire sprinkler? Moving a fire sprinkler is even more costly than just designing out something like that. And also, depending on locations of things, could be an after move-in item, or after TCO, you have it done before you move in or something like that. So I think that those drop ceiling questions, that's something that we'll want to talk about, I think, if you're serious about exploring it, sooner rather than later, and no guarantees that it can be done.
Let's see, in 842, which is a Lovejoy, so listen up for all the Lovejoy people. Are both bathrooms equipped with showers only? Are the shower doors clear or frosted? Let's see, I have that floor plan pulled up. Those are both showers. Yeah, both showers. And I believe they're clear. Spencer, do you know the answer to that?
Yeah, that was going to be my initial response. I don't think frosted is an option, but I was going to take a look.
I don't think we've been asked that one yet, have we, Michael? Michael, while we're waiting for that, do you want to look up the answer to Elisa's question, the main bedroom ceiling height?
Yeah, so that's going to be different depending on the unit.
So this would be for 940.
Yeah. Let me check.
So the frosting of a shower door, while you're looking that up, Michael, I bet we could. I'm not sure if they've been ordered. I believe they have, but they make very, very good quality glass vinyls that make it look frosted, that could be applied after after it's installed, or prior to you moving in, or even after you've moved in, if that's something that you wish to have after the fact.
When can I come look at finishes in the design center? Well, Kay Moran, who lives already at Terwilliger Plaza, you can come anytime. And so can the rest of you. So we are still putting some finishing touches on the design center. We just painted the building last week on the exterior. We're finishing touches. Now, keep in mind, we have all the finishes here. We have a lovely, beautiful space. We have a fireplace that uses the same technology of the fireplace that you would choose for your home. The actual mock kitchen and bath will not be completed until mid-July. They're working on, actually, I was really excited last Friday or Thursday. They were coming in and out of the elevator all afternoon with the cabinets. So that's pretty cool. So the cabinets are here now. So, but please call us. We do have some parking over here. It's a little bit limited and it's a little bit tricky to get in the building. The first floor of the building, for those of you who don't know, will be the U.S. Postal Service. So there's still a lot of construction going on down there, but we're not at a point where you can just like drop by anytime and come in the front door. So definitely give us a call in advance. And then hopefully Michael will be available. We've got, like I said, multiple sets of finishes, so we can have several of you, come at once. You don't have to just make a one-off appointment. Yes, hooray for the post office, Kay, but I think some people get excited because they think it's going to be a retail outlet, but it's not. So do not like slip your outgoing mail under their door, because it probably won't go to where you want it to. I know. Let's see, washer and dryer side by side or stacked, either. It's standard is side by side. If you want it stacked, that's not a problem, and there's no additional charge to do that. A lot of people are doing that, so they have that extra space, and then they'll have either our team or California Plaza or whoever put in a nice little shelving unit to the right of their stacked washer and dryer. Ooh, how thick are the shower doors? Dick, these are complicated questions.
3/8 of an inch.
How much?
3/8 of an inch.
Oh my gosh, I'm so impressed that you knew that. 3/8 of an inch. Perfect.
And they are tempered.
And they are tempered, good. For all those grandkids that are coming over. Height, did we get the answer? Height of the master bedroom, 940?
Yeah. So standard, that's going to be 8'6", and also on the dotted line soffit area, that goes up to 9'6".
Perfect. Thanks, Michael.
Caveat for you, as always. We're doing our best to get as close to that 8'6" as possible. We coordinate all our mechanical, electrical, plumbing as we go up. And I think we're past 6 or 7. And so we're coordinating the upper floors right now. Every now and then there'll be a big piece of equipment that needs to drop the ceiling a little bit, or some conflict between the mechanical, plumbing, or electrical that'll cause the ceiling to drop. But we're talking inch or 2, not feet. So should be really close to that 8'6", and we won't know exactly probably for another month or so.
So we have a question about standard versus upgrade for shower tub. I would like a bathtub with a shower and a glass door in my Buckman unit. Is that possible, and is it an upgrade? If I remember right, the Buckman has only one full bathroom. Let's see, 951. Yeah, that's a 1.5 bath. So that is a shower. So that would be one where we would have to discuss the return to standard, because if we took that shower out and put a tub shower combo, the likelihood of the next member who moves into that home wanting an easy to get in and out of shower is very high. So we would probably have to have you put that back to standard, which would not be one of the most inexpensive upgrades. So yes, it would be an upgrade. So we can talk one-on-one with you about that though. Did I miss any questions? Holler if I missed any, or if you have other questions. Oh, David.
We have been wondering about the possibility of a picture rail in the living space and perhaps bedroom as a way to hang different size pictures at different times in different places. And can those be made, is that possible, number one? And can those be sturdy enough to hang something in the 25-pound range, say?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? My apologies.
We've been wondering about having picture rail installed in at least some of the areas in our home, so that we can, over time change different pieces of artwork or mirrors or whatever in different spots. And I'm also wondering how sturdy a picture rail could be made if we can have them, so that something like a heavy mirror could be hung from one.
That's a very good question. I think, it's something we could certainly investigate. I don't have a great answer for you as far as how sturdy they can be made, but typically they're finish nailed on, and so they're not very strong.
Super. Yeah.
Yeah, heavy artwork probably is best
Spencer,
installed with backing.
If I could jump in, we use those throughout our campus in the common spaces, and I've got some for the common spaces in Parkview. I can shoot over to you the specifications on what we install, and I put them in a few of the apartments in the tower recently. So I can shoot those over to you so you can share them with everybody, because that's something we could install later while Ramon and Malik are installing the artwork for you. I'll send over pricing and the weight rating on them.
Perfect.
Because it's something that I'm not sure, Mr. McDowell, I think it was you speaking.
Actually, he's David Snyder. I'm Cheryl McDowell.
Oh, okay, Mr. Snyder. I'll make sure that you get the information. It's probably something we can do post move-in.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, that's perfect, Lucas. Thank you. Yeah, that was immediately what I was thinking. Is this is a great example of something that we could do
very easy
after move-in, so that we don't need anything drawn up. And having those extra fees that may not be necessary. So if Lucas has some different products that are completely adequate and we're comfortable doing those after the fact, then let's plan on doing that.
Yeah, they're really attractive products too.
So Cheryl and David, they happen to come here quite a few times during the week to go swimming. So you have probably seen that system in that Heights Sky Bridge.
Yeah.
So it's pretty nice.
Yeah, when you two are here next time, look me up, or ask the desk to call me, and I'll show you.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Thank you.
And Teresa, to circle back on the glass question, I haven't been super involved in a lot of the submittals here, but I just pulled them up and it looks like all of the shower doors are frosted glass.
Oh,
not clear.
Cool.
Good to know. Let's see, can kitchen range be replaced with a cooktop and a wall oven? And then second question, why was induction selected?
I can talk about the induction. Induction was one of the considerations in the passive house design. So this building is almost 2 times more insulated than your standard requirements for our area. And the technology that they're using for heating and cooling is such that if you have a gas or electric element range, that it can actually stress the building on heating, cooling the apartment. So that's one of the reasons why we didn't, as much as we wanted, we would really like to have put gas fireplaces. but we wouldn't have been able to keep up with the cooling needs to keep your apartment from getting too hot. So one of the many considerations for heating adding up was reducing it ever so slightly by using that induction technology for your cooking. But for the other question, replacing the cooktop and range for a wall oven, Spencer, is that something that we're offering in the selection process?
It's definitely not an offering. And I can tell you right now, it wouldn't be cheap because you'd have to likely redo all your cabinetry. There definitely would be some electrical changes there to run both the electrical to the range or cooktop location, and then also again to the wherever your wall oven would be. And again, that would have to be reviewed by the electrical engineer to see what the load differences are, and depending on the other selections you may have in your unit, if that's even possible. Similarly, yeah, I think the redesign and the putback costs might be pretty significant.
Not that you would want to go to a lower floor, Jorge, because we want to keep you up on the top floor, but the ADA homes on the lower floors, there's 4 of them, they do have cooktops and wall ovens, from what I understand. So if that's something that's just kind of tuck that in the back of your head. Let's see, are ovens in the range regular electric, or is there some kind of induction oven? I know the cooktop is induction, but does that mean the oven itself is as well? And then thank you, Rob, for your comment. He said he used induction in a rental and loved it faster and slower, better. I haven't used one, so that's good to know.
Yeah, they're very safe. They're very safe, especially when you have grandkids over. They cool, once you stop cooking, you can almost put your hand on it shortly after and it's not hot.
Oh,
back to the range and oven, that type of an upgrade, yes, probably very costly to do, probably unlikely to do a put back, because it would very much be something that the next person would likely desire. It'd be something that the sales team could sell.
The other note on some of that stuff, we've talked about the long lead items. Appliances have been ordered. They are not an upgradable item. So, all the upgrades we've tried to manage when we order them based on what folks ask for, but that was not an upgrade item. And so all of the appliances have been ordered. So that, again, that just contributes to the cost, where we try to offset, credits for a standard material where you have upgraded. You would not get said credit for the oven. We could potentially look at returning the original, but there will be some restock fee that is typically pretty hefty. So it's something we'd have to evaluate.
I think the other, just kind of so you guys understand why we didn't offer upgrade or selections for appliances. Our dear friend Lucas, who's on the call, if you think about, we already have 250 some odd homes, and then we're adding 127. If we had even 40 different kinds of ranges and whatnot, if you can imagine what a nightmare it would be, because we're responsible. When you come here, you don't have to wait for the repair person anymore. You just call maintenance and we take care of it. So the thought of having to keep parts on hand and know all the ins and outs of, even 10 different ovens, it's mind boggling. So not that we didn't want to be helpful or whatever, but at some point we just can't. So let's see. Are there photos of kitchen and bath cabinetry? How many drawers? So no photos per se until sometime in mid-July. We'll have our mock area open, and you will be able to come and open the drawers and look at them. However, we do have elevation drawings that Michael can have ready for you, especially if you let him know in advance. We can even send those to you. We can show you some pictures of some examples, not your particular one, but like around, I'm thinking of the bathroom vanity, there's a drawer that pulls out and it's a U-shaped drawer. So we have some photos of examples of what it would look like. But again, in mid-July, we'll actually have one so you can come and take a look, and then we can get your particular elevation drawing and you can have that so you can see exactly what you have. Do the induction ranges have induction ovens? I don't know the answer to that.
I'm looking it up right now, so I'll get back to you on that one.
Okay. Seems that a wall oven would be ideal for older people who have problems bending to reach things in the oven. I don't remember. I wasn't here when the original design was happening, but I believe there's some logic as to why there's not a wall oven in every single home, but I don't recall what it is unless someone else does. And then yes, washers and dryers are provided. That's actually a huge bonus and great thing about the Passive House. These washers and dryers are incredibly energy efficient. They're Miele brand from Germany. So, and Peter does talk in his presentation about Passive House as to the unique way the dryer in particular, and I'm blanking on the word, but it doesn't like take all of the lint and the water and everything and basically shred your clothes. It's the way it dries is much better for your clothes, and it doesn't put all that moisture out into the air. That liquid actually goes down the same pipe that your washing machine water goes down.
Yeah, it's a ventless dryer, so there's no exhaust to the outside of the building, which is part of that tight outer wrap that's keeping our building so warm and efficient and cool in the summers with not needing a lot of energy.
So Teresa, I believe the oven is an electric convection oven. And so I think the advantage there is that you do have the convection, which keeps the temperature very accurate. And then it also keeps the air moving within your oven to make sure that there's no hot or cold pockets. So.
Thank you. Do you have to order the stackable washer and dryer? Yes, they come side by side as standard. So Rob, I'll have Michael make a note to double check with you when you guys meet about your finishes, because that is a finish option. But yeah, we can make a note that you want to talk about a stackable. Cost of fireplace. They are how much, Michael? Also not inexpensive. The technology is quite interesting.
Yeah, so I think the cost of that, and I believe it was quoted with also the tiling around it, and it provides a bump out as well, as around 18,000. But I believe it varies per unit, but it's around 18,000 roughly.
Michael, I think that they're different. There was two options. One was drywall and one was tile, and the tile is certainly more expensive and dependent on the tile that you pick. And I think it goes up to maybe even the $25,000 range.
Yeah, tile has been another, we actually had to change some of our selection options because some of the tile we were getting we just could no longer get it, or it was like so incredibly expensive it didn't make sense for anybody. So okay, these are great questions. Let's see, I think for the most part most everyone on this call. There's a few who are not, but a lot of people on the call, the majority are charter members. And so I know with some of the questions about dates and timing for move-in and whatnot, keep in mind as a charter member, you have, once we have our occupancy and we say the building's ready to move in, you have 30 days before you need to start, before you pay the rest of your membership fee and take possession. And then you have 90 days to move in and start paying your monthly fee. Once you move in, you have to pay your monthly fee. So keep in mind some of this stuff, when you meet with Michael, he's going to suggest that some things you want to do, they should be done after, well, we call them developer items. So, and we do that for a few reasons, but one is it's going to save you quite a bit of money. And two, it goes back to what Spencer and Ryan have already talked about, is that coordination and getting all of this stuff done so that we don't hold up the entire building for, very specific things in certain homes. So I think that's it. Let's see, paint selection, cost to use, different wall colors. Again, that would be a developer. So after you take occupancy, we have to put some kind of paint on the wall or the city won't give us our opening pass. But then in that time, between that point and the time you actually move in, you'll work with Lucas and his team to select colors. So I think, I don't know, Lucas, I don't know if it'll be the same, but I think right now, does Lynn charge like a couple $100 for an extra color of paint or extra wall or something?
I'll send you the fee list. It's an hourly rate, but Ty and his team are efficient and quick. They don't mess around. They're in and out, so they keep it quick for you. And I'll send that over, Teresa, so that you can make sure everybody knows how much that is.
That'd be great. And Jorge, yes, the question is, does Terwilliger have staff to install TV? Yeah, that's Malik and Ramon that Lucas mentioned earlier, and they are awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure all of you will get to know those two very well, as well as the people that work around them. But you'll see those two a lot leading art and TVs. And not to make it sound like there's only two, but those two drive that.
Is there a price list for upgrades? Yes, but it's specific to every single home. So Susan, we can make a note that you want to see that, and it's really long, so that's why we don't give it out, because it's every little thing under the sun. So but if you want it, we can give it to you, but we don't just have one like on one sheet of paper that applies to every single person. Anything else? This is really good.
I just wanted to say that if today was thought-provoking and eye-opening, so that with the things that you're considering doing to your apartment, that was the intention. We really wanted to get out in front of the last two floors before their structural deadlines, and make sure that you had as much information as you could have leading up to those conversations. So if a lot of the things on the structural side that we talked about are things you're considering, please make that known very soon to Michael or your sales membership counselor. So Teresa, Jojo, Jessica, and you can also call Lori. But we're here to help. We want to help you through this part of the process. And I hope that you found this helpful.
Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, we have a couple last minute questions here. Are fireplaces structural or finished? They're finish. Is Michael going to contact us about making choices? This is a great question. Yes, he will. However, if you're sitting through here today going, I know I want this, and I know I want this, and I definitely want a floor outlet, please do not wait for him to call you. Please call him or email me, and I can, if you don't happen to have his email, or you can call our main number to reach him. He does have an office here at the Design Center, but we're still working on his phone. So, but but yes, we would like to meet. If you know, or, you know, if you're sitting here going, well, there's more questions I need to ask, whatever, just please reach out. Don't wait. If you know you have some special requests that you want to talk to us about, we will do whatever we can to make that happen. I can't guarantee that, well, I can guarantee that Spencer will not be able to attend every meeting, but if there are some more complicated things, he has been kind enough to meet on an occasion, because some of the things are very, very unique to the homes. So yeah, let us know. We do want to try to get you what you want. But we definitely, with, you know, I don't want to be the doomsday of all the things going on in the world, but it is a very, very different environment. I mean, Spencer and everyone else at Walsh has told us over and over that this is unreal. It's completely unreal what they're dealing with right now. And given that, as you know, on that note, I definitely want to say thank you to Spencer and the Walsh team, and LRS is not on the call today, but everyone is just, I mean, talk about it takes a village. I mean, it's, we want to get this building up and going for you guys. And so far, so good. And, but yeah, it'll take us working with you and you, you know, working with Michael to get all your choices known so we can do the best we can to get what you want. So with that, if you have other questions, definitely email me. I do want to take the opportunity to let you guys know, I think I've already mentioned this, I know I have, but June 28th is our next monthly Parkview event for you. I hope all of you can come to that event. Carl Abbott, one of your fellow Parkview members, will be our speaker, and he will be talking to us about the history of this area. And he'll talk about, you know, what was it like here in the Parkview area, you know, where we are at Parkview 50 years ago, 100 years ago. If you don't know, he was a professor at PSU in urban studies. So he's super excited to talk about this area. It's completely his passion and he loves it. And he is super excited to be able to move into Parkview with all of you. But that's June 28th at 3 p.m. That is in person here in the auditorium. Please let us know if you'd like to attend that, because we, as usual, we'll have valet parking and whatnot, but we do need to plan ahead. We do expect, because he's a pretty popular guy, we do expect a lot of people at that event. So if you can make it, please come. And I think that is it. Let's see. I don't see any other questions. So thank you so much for attending. Thank you, Lucas, Spencer, Ryan. Jojo was very quiet on this call, and Michael. Michael, by the way, has been working his you-know-what off to make all this happen. So be kind to him when you meet with him. So Jan, I'm going to call you right after this call. We'll get you your floor plans before you head out of town, even if we need to drop them off in the next hour. All right. Thank you very much, and we will see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
Looking forward to
Teresa.
working with you.
Thanks, Teresa.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Carl was on. Oh, I didn't see him.